Let's slow this moment down, not to accomplish anything, not to get clarity right away, just to be here without needing to perform. If motivation has been coming and going lately, you might feel frustrated with yourself, like something essential keeps slipping through your fingers. One day you feel capable, focused, almost like yourself again. And the next day, that energy disappears. No warning, no clear reason. You tell yourself you should be able to summon it, that other people seem to manage just fine, that if you really wanted it badly enough, motivation would show up. But that belief quietly creates pressure, and pressure changes how the brain works. Motivation feels unreliable because it is, not because you're inconsistent, but because motivation was never designed to carry constant load. In a fast-moving, high-demand world, we're taught to treat motivation like a resource we should always have access to, like a switch we can flip, like something that should respond to willpower. But your brain doesn't work that way. Motivation is a response, not a command. It rises when the nervous system feels safe enough to engage. It fades when the system senses threat, exhaustion, or overload. So when life becomes a sequence of expectations, deadlines, comparisons, and unspoken pressure, motivation doesn't disappear because you've failed. It disappears because your system is conserving energy. You might notice this pattern. The more important something feels, the harder it is to start. The more you tell yourself it has to happen, the more resistance you feel. The heavier the consequences seem, the quieter your motivation becomes. That's not irony, it's protection. When the brain senses that effort might lead to more stress instead of relief, it hesitates. It delays. It waits for conditions to feel safer. And when they don't, motivation stays offline. This is where self-blame usually enters. You start monitoring yourself, tracking your energy, judging the days you feel flat or unfocused. You wonder what's wrong with you, why you can't be consistent, why you can't just push through like you used to. But the truth is simpler and kinder. Motivation isn't a reliable driver under pressure. It's a byproduct of safety, clarity, and emotional bandwidth. When those are missing, motivation becomes unpredictable by design. Your nervous system prioritizes survival over progress, stability over ambition, relief over momentum. That's not a flaw. That's intelligence. The mistake is believing that motivation should come first, that you should feel ready before life feels heavy, that you should feel energized before you're allowed to slow down. But for most people living under constant demand, motivation doesn't lead. It follows. It returns after pressure drops, after self-criticism softens, after the nervous system feels less watched, less rushed, less evaluated. This is why forcing motivation rarely works for long. You might get a short burst, a temporary push, enough to get through something important, but it costs you, and the system remembers that cost, so next time it resists sooner. This doesn't mean you're losing drive. It means your mind has learned what unsustainable effort feels like, and it doesn't want to repeat it. There's relief in understanding this, because if motivation is unreliable, then your worth can't be measured by how motivated you feel. You don't need to earn rest by being productive first. You don't need to prove discipline to deserve ease. You don't need to be inspired to be allowed to pause. When you stop expecting motivation to carry everything, something shifts. You stop waiting for the right feeling to validate your pace. You stop treating low energy as a moral failure. You stop turning normal human fluctuation into evidence against yourself. And slowly, without forcing it, trust begins to return. Trust in your timing. Trust in your signals. Trust that your system knows when to engage and when to protect. Motivation comes back more quietly that way, not as pressure, not as urgency, but as a gentle sense of readiness, a small opening, a little curiosity, a feeling of, I can approach this now. That's real motivation. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It doesn't demand that you become someone else. It respects your limits right now. You don't need to chase motivation. You don't need to analyze why it's missing. It's enough to recognize that your mind has been adapting to a lot, and that inconsistency doesn't mean failure. It means responsiveness. You're allowed to move when you feel ready. You're allowed to rest when you don't. You're allowed to trust that clarity returns when pressure eases. Nothing important about you has disappeared. It's just been waiting for safer conditions. Stay here for a moment longer. Let the idea of needing motivation soften. You don't have to be driven to be valid. You don't have to be energized to be enough. There's no rush. This space is allowed.